to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon.
All right, it's 8:30. I'm going to bring to order this Downtown Development Authority Board meeting on Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. First order of business, approval of the April 12th minutes. Are there any comments or corrections to be had?
No, I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Yes?
I was not present at that meeting.
We counted you present.
You were always here, right? We held your seat.
All right. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We have a few motions today.
Yeah.
Next are the April 30th financial statements. Ms. Chapman, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Statements as of April 30, 2023 are before you. You can see on Statement A, between both the non-tax and local tax funds, the DDA is holding just over $11 million in cash at this time. So far this year, on Statement B, you can see we've collected 9.8 in revenues and spent 8.4 million in expenditures. The non-tax fund is about 89% of the way through its budget, and the local tax fund just about 50% of the way through its budget. Statement C will give you where we're at with each of the goals and projects listed. And I would ask for approval for Statement D, your list of expenditures that occurred in April, unless anybody has any questions.
Yes.
Quick question on Statement A, and I'm not asking about the specifics of this entry, but in general, what would go in under miscellaneous revenue? What type of sources are those? Just curious.
When we are reimbursed for like the Valiant Ice, we pay those invoices and then the companies all pay us back. And you can see like there's some receivables in the non-tax funds. Those are companies for ice sculptures that we haven't received the money back for.
Okay.
I think there's also $100 in that receivable from an accident. Somebody hit a wayfinding sign and they've only paid us for half of their damage that they did. So we're waiting for that.
Just looking for kind of a flavor of what goes in that bucket, so thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve Statement D.
Support.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. 24 budget adoption.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So this is our final step in budget preparation. So you recommended your budget for fiscal year 24 at the April meeting. We were at City Commission yesterday and had it approved as recommended. And so it comes back to you now for adoption. Final step in the process, no changes to the budget that was presented to you last month. And so just look for your motion and approval.
Thank you, Mayor and City Commission.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to approve or adopt the budget fiscal year 24.
So moved. Support.
All right, any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Motion carries. Dash service agreement.
Yeah, so with our budget, we can now start thinking about expenditures for the coming year. First up is a request to continue our agreement with the City of Grand Rapids and the Monroe North Tax Increment Finance Authority for the DASH service. This is, of course, has been a priority for us for many years, including through GR Forward and also through the CA's Destination Asset Study. A couple of tweaks this year that I've invited Mr. Naramore from Mobile GR to talk through, primarily around the route and timing of service, and then we can have any discussion that's needed. So, Josh, if you're ready and able, just invite you up. And we did it. I included a map of the reroute in the packet and have it up on the screen for you here. But Josh, turn to you.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
So good morning, everybody. This has been a lot of conversation. So Dash has existed for almost 50 years now in the downtown area. It started as the Gus Bus. So since I've been here at the city, this is actually our third rechange of this, and all of this is to continue to implement two really big things. One is GR Forward. First recommendation was to take what used to be 4 or 5 different commuter routes and actually have them better serve both commuters but also residents and visitors in the downtown experience. So we moved those 4 or 5 routes into 2, Dash West and Dash North. Those changed for a while. Then in 2018, we did the biggest. We changed all the color scheme and everything, and we added late night service, 7-day-a-week service, and saw, as a result of that, the largest ridership we've ever had. Over the course of a year, we went from having about 250 to 300,000 to 700,000+ riders that year. Then the pandemic hit. So as a result of the pandemic, one thing that we're finding in meeting with a lot of the stakeholders is there's been a lot of changes that have taken in the demand for services. Commuter patterns have changed a little bit. There still is a little bit of a demand, but we're really wanting to try to do a better job of implementing the destination asset study, which was done by Experience Grand Rapids back in 2017 to better create a visitor and resident experience. So the downtown neighbor network and a lot of the feedback from all the different stakeholders, we decided to take those two routes and consolidate them into one, and also extend service to areas which you see on the right-hand side, or on my left-hand side, which actually will take us to a whole portion of the city that we've never touched with the Dash service. So this is fareless service that will extend to all of the residential areas on the near west side, all the way up to the Leonard Street Business District, which for many of the businesses and the hotels, that was one of the largest areas that they wished to have a connection to from the downtown area, to be able to connect to Long Road, Mitten Brewing, any of the bars and restaurants and retail options that are up there. So, yes. What I'm excited to say is the service actually started at 7 a.m. today. So this new consolidated route, it will run Wednesday through Friday from 7 a.m. to midnight. On Saturdays, it'll run from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. And then on Sundays, it'll run from 11 to 5. We're not running Monday and Tuesday service currently, and that is not because we don't have the money and the budget for it. It's that we do not have the drivers right now from the Rapid. That's something, they have a driver shortage. They're going to work on adding that back in so we can actually have full 7-day-a-week service and later night service to continue to be able to do that. So with this agreement, we heard you loudly and clearly. We've done 1-year renewals for the last 3 years. This is, we're requesting a 3-year agreement, and the funding participation has gone up from $350,004 to $400,004. The city's overall budget for this is $3.2 million for service. It's our largest expenditure line item other than personnel services in our operating budget. This was recommended for approval to the City Commission at the Mobile GR Commission last week, asking for your approval, and then it will be scheduled for the May 23rd City Commission meeting for another 3 years.
Just one question. What's that $4 used for?
From what I've been told, it's to make a whole dollar amount from the contribution from the Monroe North TIFA.
There is a reason.
There is a reason.
One point of clarification, the DDA's ask is just for $300,000.
Yes.
Annually, the TIFA would also be contributing $100,000. And we'll be asked to recommend that at their next meeting. So thank you, Josh, for that, and then happy to take any.
Mayor?
Josh, have we had any security issues on the Dash?
Not lately, no. And we had one last summer, but that's something that we worked with GRPD on, and it was something that we had a lot of issues in downtown in general that we've been trying to work with them on.
Okay.
But that's something that we're constantly working with, and we're working with the Rapid on a way that drivers can alert us in real time, so we can work with a hot team. If there are people that are riding around on a constant throughout the loop in downtown, and just trying to better understand like what's the experience to create a better experience for people on the bus that are waiting for the bus as well, especially as we add late night service back, just to make sure we're understanding what the impacts of that are.
Nice. Can't wait to ride it. Over to Leonard.
Yeah.
For some
Any other
brisket.
questions? I think this will be great. So we need a motion to approve the agreement.
Support.
All right, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Market Avenue Riverfront Design Services, Mr. Miller.
Morning. So yeah, Market Avenue Riverfront, this is sometimes referred to as 201, sometimes referred to, or currently referred to in our project as the Grand River East Riverfront from Fulton to Wealthy. So essentially what we're talking about is that green line on this drawing. We're trying to implement a river walk from Wealthy Street all the way to Fulton Street along that edge. The southern edge, south of the highway, is city property, and it is complicated by some rail tracks that go across it, as well as the city operations that exist there. And then the northern property north of 131 is privately held. All of these folks are working with us on this project moving forward. So as I mentioned in the memorandum, We went through an RFQ process in collaboration with the City of Grand Rapids. There were 3 consultant teams that put forth qualification statements. We ended up going through all of those, reviewing them with the committee, and Viridis, Fishbeck, Progressive AE, and MTC is the consultant team that we ended up choosing and then moving forward with as far as putting together a proposal and scope of work that included the fee. Having gone through all of that, the project is essentially put into 2 different parts. So part 1, phase 1, is the preliminary design services that would run from June 23, so a month from now, and through September of 23, and that really gets us the design portion of the work. That includes engagement. It includes some due diligence, including soil borings to assess what's underground there, because we have to be aware of that as we move forward. And then the phase 2 of that work would actually be the design development and then the bidding phase of that work so that we could actually build it. And that would run from October of 23 through November of 24. The intent of this, obviously, is to get the project ready to bid by October of 24 and then built in full by December of 26. So with that, we have elected to recommend that we move forward with just that phase 1 portion right now. That phase 1 portion is $362,327. And then also adding a 10% contingency to that to bring it to $398,327. So that would come out of the Goal 1 River Edge Improvement line item in the LTI budget. And I'm happy to take any questions. There's another image here if you're not familiar with this property. So there's quite an extensive river wall along that edge, but then as it goes towards the bridge and after the bridge, it turns into more of just a sloped area that accesses the river. So there's a lot of opportunity here to look at this and to figure out how we can design this so that it really aligns with both GR Forward and the River for All plan that we're really working off from. Yes.
So I'm assuming from that design, the intent is to do a walk under 131 for
Yes.
connectivity. And then remind me, I usually cross at the Blue Bridge, but are we also going to do that under Fulton as well to connect?
Under Fulton, I think that the intent right now is to probably cross at grade at Fulton Street.
So go back up and
Yes.
cross over
Yes.
in front of Plaza and then
Yes.
go back down?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would be the same thing that probably happens at Wealthy Street at this point in time. But I think that those things are things that will be looked at during the design to see how best to handle some of that stuff.
Okay. And then can we use some of the Greenway funds for the design?
I think that that is something that is being worked through right now. So we have obviously the Grand River Network that's working through that along with the DGRI Board of Advisors. So that's in process right now. I think that what we're trying to do is bridge a gap and make sure that we're not waiting for that stuff to occur as we continue to work through it. We are, as you can tell from the schedule that I outlined, we're really at a point where we have to start this, or we don't get to that December date, that
Okay.
December 26th date.
All right. And then I'm assuming it's in coordination with the designers that are looking to develop both Fulton and Market and the amphitheater.
Yeah, it's actually a nice alignment because those designers are actually working, the subconsultant on this project, Progressive, is working on that stuff. So I think there's a good integration of that work, and I think that we've talked extensively with the city engineering department about making sure that we integrate into those folks, and both of them, both the amphitheater and the Fulton Market site did weigh in on that consultant team.
Any other questions?
Changes with the current status of the river and other projects that were intended for the river, does that inform our vision for this project at all, or is it completely and wholly separate?
I think that one of the things that is in the schedule for this project is determining the permitting process. because that's always something that is looming. So as we go through the design process with this, we're certainly going to be cognizant of the permits that we need to get. We have I think we have a better idea about how that's going to work. And we're hopeful that it's a little bit quicker this time around because of the changes to some of the agreements and the process that we're working through.
Mark, maybe our city engineer can correct me if I'm wrong. So we've worked really closely with Eagle for them to separate out the river restoration permit from the river's edge permits. And they now are independent permit processes. And so the work we're doing in the river and the modified design we're working on won't impact any permits that we're getting along the river's edge. And we've been assured of that.
And that would apply to Lion Square, for instance.
Lion Square.
Yes.
Eagle's already permitted Lion Square, we're just waiting on the Clomar.
Nice.
You had to bring up Lions.
I'm eager to get going on that too.
Any other questions? Well, sounds good. We do need a motion, right, to approve these expenditures?
Support.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thanks, Mark.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries. Next is Riverwalk Design.
Yes, so this one has been before you before. It is roughly the area between the Blue Bridge and the JW. As you know, that's been closed for an extended period of time as we've worked through a design process. And way back in October of 2020, the DDA authorized the funding for the design of this project. Since then, there was obviously the design and the work with that, but then a pretty extended period of time going through the permitting process that we're all aware of, mostly related to the Eagle permit. So that was resolved back in January. So there is a permit for this project. It's very similar to Lion Square in the Grand Rapids Public Museum in that it has the Eagle permit. It is still waiting for the Clomar. So we are working through that. But as we did that, obviously that Eagle permitting cycle took a much longer period of time, and there was a great deal of more back and forth in the design of the project. And I can show you an enlarged view of what the intent there is. So the Blue Bridge is over here on the left side. So there was changes to the design layout. There was a lot of cut fill calculations that had to go back and forth between the permitting agency and the engineering company. And then so that resulted in a lot of changes to the permitting documents as they went through that. So what I'm here today to ask for or to recommend is that the additional professional services in the amount of $20,500 be approved for that contract to cover those permitting costs that went on during that 18 to 24 month period. And I'm happy to take any questions.
What's your ETA? Do you have any ETA on the permit?
It's the same as Lion Square and the museum, so we're waiting. I don't know if there's an update to that.
City engineer can jump in if needed. So the revised application or request was sent into FEMA on April 26th or thereabouts. It's typically a 90-day period, but we think it'll be shorter than that. So hopefully within the next 2.5 months, we get a response, and then once those certified letters are received, a permit could be issued. So we're still hopeful that this summer it comes in hand, but the timeline is not defined, unfortunately.
And we do have the funding both through the DDA and the City of Grand Rapids.
Right.
So the funding is there. It's implementable. We just need the permit.
Everything's ready. Did I get everything there, Tim?
Get it
Good.
by June. I'm making Tim buy me a drink.
I'd be happy to. All right, sounds good. Can I get a motion to approve the expenditure?
Support.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Downtown planting funding.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I don't have any slides, so I'm not sure where to stand, but Just wanted to come before you and talk to you a little bit about the downtown plantings. Start off with a little overview of what we're currently doing and what we've got planned for this year. Currently, we're servicing over 225 planters throughout downtown. And 25 of those were added just in the last year. So planters, pots, all the beautiful things that we throw green stuff into. And last year, with our partners at McCandy Gardens and the Ambassadors, we planted almost 46,000 plants throughout downtown across all 4 seasons. So we're keeping pretty busy and trying to keep downtown looking green and fresh all year long. Not a whole lot of changes coming to the planting schedule or seasons this year. We've made some adjustments based on just what we've seen work and not work in certain areas in downtown. But one thing I'm really excited about is the addition of a pollinator bed this year. So we're kind of geeking out over some local flowers and local plant life that we're going to be planting in a specific planter bed near Madcap. See how those do, and hopes that if it works, we're going to potentially expand some pollinator plants throughout downtown in the coming years. So the total request for the McCandy planting season is $180,225, which includes a small contingency just for unexpected things that tend to crop up every year. This is split 3 ways between the DDA, the Downtown Improvement District, and the Monroe North TIFA. That's a mouthful. So the ask before you is for $62,725, and this is budgeted within the Goal 3 Streetscape Improvements line item. And with that, I will take any questions you might have about plants and flowers.
Any questions? All right. I would entertain a motion to approve. Support. All right. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that was easy.
Thank you.
Downtown Neighbor Network update.
Good
Welcome.
morning, everyone. My name is Kenzie Channing. I'm the manager of Neighbor Experience for Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. We've been doing a lot of work and just wanted to catch you up on all of the awesome things that we're doing because we're really excited about the ways that neighbors are kind of taking things into their own hands and creating opportunities to connect with each other. The biggest one that I want to share is a QR code because it is an effort of kind of culminating all of the ways that neighbors can connect in the neighborhood in one place. So if you're interested in sharing that, or if you know someone that is new to the neighborhood, that would be a great place to send them to start for things like joining the DNN, upcoming events that we have, and then things that our subcommittees have been doing. So the Downtown Neighbor Network is an advisory board. We have 16 members currently, and about 7 of them are new in the past year and a half. And this group of individuals who live downtown are just seeking to kind of be the doers downtown. They want to be in the know and be a part of the things that are happening in the center of our city. And the subcommittees that they've divided themselves into are safety, and I put this up here because we did an exercise for quality of life that kind of identified the ways that neighbors could, again, take things into their own hands and contribute to the work that our city is doing, that our police department is doing for public safety. So you'll see a block audit is what we're calling it in this QR code, ways that neighbors can point out things that they'd like to see improved, and also celebrate things that are going really well, things that make them feel safe about being a neighbor, things that make them recognize how great of a place it is to be downtown. We see that there's a lot of disconnect between people who call downtown home and people who live outside of the city limits, and just sharing that story that positive things are happening in the neighborhood is a really big thing that the safety subcommittee would like to do in this coming year. Another asset area that people are working on is food access, so partnering with local businesses in the neighborhood to make sure that everyone has access to affordable and high quality produce, to make sure that health is really the center of our neighborhood and making sure that everyone feels safe and healthy downtown. So those are the top two pictures. Our bottom two pictures kind of demonstrate the work that's being done in our communications and events subcommittees. Our communications group, like I said, put this QR code together as a way to engage the neighbors, both taking feedback from neighbors about what they'd like to see as involvement in the neighborhood. What does that mean? How does that look for people living in different buildings? And then using that to create events. So I wanted to show you our event that you are all invited to coming up next week. We're just going to do a pizza night, super simple, at Pepino's next Tuesday. It's just an opportunity for neighbors to connect. We know that each building has a really strong community inside of it, so that is a great asset downtown. We'd like to build those strong communities in each building across the streets as well. So making sure that people in each of those buildings know someone who lives on the other side of town or across the street from them. So creating opportunities for people to connect and share the commonality of the excitement of living downtown and create solutions together is something that we're hoping to do this year. So kicking it off with this, but I'll go back to this if there are any questions. Again, all neighbor-led and all exciting things happening, no matter what age, no matter what income level. We're excited to connect neighbors downtown.
Cool.
Take any questions if there are any.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Quick question. You use the term downtown. Is it different than the DDA boundaries?
No.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the second question is, how many residents do we have in that boundaries?
Yeah, so actually in the Vitals report, it is just over, I want to say 6,700. So we are approaching 7,000 quickly, which is very exciting. And even in the year and a half I've been here, that number has increased by 500. So exciting to see people. And also I'll say occupancy rates for all of our residential buildings, there are wait lists. There's no such thing as an empty apartment downtown right now, which is really exciting that there is demand to live in the downtown neighborhood. So it is the DDA boundaries. We do work quite closely with all of the surrounding neighborhood associations as well. So the Neighborhood Summit coming up soon, that's going to be an awesome opportunity for people to connect across neighborhoods. And then we do things like for master planning, we partnered with both the Hartside Downtown Neighborhood Association and the neighbors of Belknap Lookout to partner on what do we want our city to look like, what do we want to say as neighbors for the future of Grand Rapids. So we have done a lot of partnership activities over the past year and a half because even if you're not living downtown, downtown is the center of our city, and we do want everyone to feel like they are a part of the great things happening here.
Any other questions?
Thank you all.
Well, good. Thank you. Good work. All right, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, we are 30 minutes ahead of schedule, so I'll take that as a cue that you all want to get out of here.
You're welcome. You're all welcome.
But just a couple of quick notes. First, just wanted to say thank you to the entire team on the budget process. I did a lot of the presenting, but a lot of work was going on behind the scenes, so I wanted to take a moment to share my gratitude for all the work that went into that over the past few months. And then given the warm weather and the turn in the season, just wanted to highlight some of our work in the events and activation space. First, last weekend, we did a grand opening for Las Conchas and the futsal courts over on the west side. We had a soft opening last fall, but had an event there Saturday, which followed the opening of the Bridge Street Futsal League that's going on over there now. So a few hundred people were there on Friday night. Saturday, we had a little bit of rain, but still had a good turnout and a lot of fun. So if you've not seen those, I encourage you to go check them out. And kudos to Corey on our team, as well as the whole communications team that did a lot of work to pull that off. The week ahead, don't forget that Saturday is the Riverbank Run. So if you have any plans for the weekend, make sure you're taking that into consideration. And then before that, a reminder that tomorrow, or actually Relax at Rosa started last week, but tomorrow Relax at Rosa will be going on. So every Thursday between now and the end of September, head down to Rosa Parks. There'll be food trucks and a band playing. So hopefully you can check that out. And then looking a little farther out, wanted to highlight that our team has selected artists for the Ticket Booth mural program that we're working on. So RFP went out for that a little earlier this year. The artists have been selected. We're going to be going through the approval process with the city, and that work should be starting in July. So Katie and our team is leading that, and look out for that work happening. If you did not see the Art Prize announcements this week, so both venue registration and artist registration are live. So if you know anyone that wants to be a venue and hasn't registered, or if you know any artists that might be interested, make sure you point them to artprize.org where they can get registered and participate in that. And then also wanted to highlight that our team's continuing to coordinate with Art Prize on the major installations that you approved last month. So they'll be up for Return to the River, but they will stick around for Art Prize and be a part of the overall event. And then lastly, hard to believe, but we're already planning for World of Winter 2024. We have an RFP out right now for activation grants. Those are open through June 16th. And then we are our team's combing through over 100 proposals that we got for the major art installations. There are 107 that came in this year, which is quite a bit more than we've seen in the past. So a lot happening in the event space, as you can imagine. So just wanted to highlight that, but happy to take any other questions that anyone on the board might have.
Any questions? It's a very quiet group this
I know,
morning.
the weather's good.
Or did you not make coffee? What's
There's 5
Okay.
back there.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Next is public comment. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak, now is your chance. All right, seeing none. Board member comments. Let's wake up. Any comments?
Chair, I'll follow up with just a
Sure.
couple of questions. and I guess a comment too. One, thanks to the entire team. Kenzie, you're doing great work coordinating efforts and bringing people together who live downtown. All the plantings really make downtown look beautiful, and I just appreciate the work of the entire team. 2 concrete questions I have, Tim, and maybe you can just follow up and we can talk about this at our next meeting. We spent, well over a year with a retail expert doing lots of studies and giving us advice, and we looked at other cities. Can we get an update on, what are we doing to try to implement some of those recommendations, progress that's been made, outcomes?
Yep.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, happy to do that. And I think next month, if not in July, we'll have probably some policy revisions that the team has been working through with the Economic Development Support Group around ways that we can use our tools differently or better to continue to affect that. But we can give an update overview at that time as well.
Okay, I think that would be helpful.
Yep.
And then 2 other things. I know you and I have talked, but I'm sure others have heard it as well. The timeline to make some improvements to the social zones on Monroe Center.
Yeah, there was some reconfiguration that happened to the one near House of Wine recently. The restaurants there decided to move forward and continue that social zone for a while, but we can give you an update just on where things stand overall with the social zones in downtown.
Okay, and then my last one is for Lion Square and the Riverwalk. Are we ready to go with construction as soon as we get the Clomar? Or do we have to still go out to bid? And
We'll still have to go out to bid.
we can't do that prior to getting the Clomar?
We've talked about that a little bit. There might be, it's unlikely, but there's possible that there's some minor design changes, and just getting a better sense of the timing is important before we go out. We have talked about and are convening around the idea of making sure that design is, as soon as that permit comes, that it goes out to bid.
Okay.
But the timing's important, and particularly with Lion Square because of the challenges of the operations around that. We want to make sure we're coordinated closely with Amway and Convention Center.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.
All right, thanks.